Hey peeps, it's me again, and we're gonna talk about what's happened in the past week and the updates that I promised to bring you, and where things stand now, and a little bit about my writing. And if that sounds good, pull up a chair, take a seat, put your feet up, grab a cup of coffee or a latte or hot cocoa, and we'll get started. So, yes, my kitty coffee cup for the day. That says, shh, my coffee and I are having a moment. I will deal with you later. Yeah, that's what it says. Oh, and I also bought for the spring, I keep water in this cup, so I bought a hydrangea cup. So, yeah, the past week has been hectic to say the least, panicky, infuriating, frustrating, busy. For those of you who don't know, so last week I put up paperback versions of a couple of the Otherworld books that I have the rights back to. And I got a notice from Amazon's KDP asking for the proof that I had the reversion of rights. So I send in the letters immediately. You know, the minute I see that email, those letters are attached and on the way. And I get back a notice a day or so later going, this is great, fine. And then 2 days later, and this was a week ago, Friday, I wake up to find my account has been terminated and all my books were out of Amazon's store. And I couldn't get into my dashboard, didn't know if I was going to get the royalties I had earned up to that point, because some people don't when their account's terminated, and absolutely panicked. You know, I was just petrified because while I would like my income to be more diverse, right now about 75% of it comes from Amazon. And I need that because I support my family and I support, well, I help support two part-time assistants. And without Amazon's money, I would be scrambling to make the mortgage. So I'm sitting here panicking. And then I was like, okay, need to calm down. What steps can I take immediately? I mean, I need to email them back. And what they had said in the email was that I hadn't provided proof. So first thing I do is I email them back going, excuse me, I did provide proof. I sent in the letters. Here they are again. So I sent those in. And then I immediately went on Facebook to some of the author groups I'm in. And this is where having a community really helps. And I was like, I lost my account. What do I do? I know people who have had that happen are in these groups. Can you give me advice? And I got a bunch of advice. Zoe York was extremely helpful. And she said, post on threads for one thing, because it seems to spur up the process. And she also pointed me to a handout that I'd remembered reading years ago that someone wrote up about what to do if your KDP account is terminated. So I downloaded that and read that. And meanwhile, I'm thinking, okay, I had shut my direct store down mainly because the tax structure in our state, in Washington state, is insane. And figuring out local taxes was just taking longer than it was worth. But immediately was I need that extra venue to sell my books. And I need to make that blow up and work. Blow up as in grow and make it worthwhile the time put into it. And so I told my husband, Samwise, please immediately get all the links back up. Now, the store was not fully shut down. I had just taken it offline, which meant everything was still there. We just had to update a few things and get the links back on the site. We also had to take all of Amazon's links off the site because they led to nowhere. And people were starting to ask questions. And it was like, okay, get those links off, get the private bookstore links up, and, go from there. And then my VA, Jen, and I had to sit down and figure out a post to explain what was going on to people who were suddenly getting, and they were going to buy books and nothing was there. So I sat down, wrote a post for that, and put that out everywhere. Did a little video for here, as you see if you look in the videos from last week, and just basically tried to spread the word, get it out that I am having a snafu with Amazon. If you want to buy my books, you can still buy them. We'll have my private bookstore back up. They're still on Nook, Kobo, Google Play, and Apple. Damage control, trying to mitigate the collateral damage this caused. And another thing that suddenly occurred to me is all the pre-orders I had were gone, which meant I lost thousands pre-orders, which meant a big hit for over the next couple months. So I read the instructions in that handout that I had downloaded, and another friend reached out and hooked me up with somebody who knows someone in Amazon. So I started writing more emails. And then I thought, the email that I got that approved those letters, I should write a reply on that so it includes their approval. So I did that. And I think I sent 3 to 4 letters to Amazon from different areas, basically saying, you told me this was okay, and I did what you asked, and why did you shut down my account? Then the rest of the day we worked on the direct bookstore, and I scrambled with my plans trying to figure out what the hell I was going to do. And it was a nightmare. It was terrifying because, my livelihood. This is my livelihood. So next day I wake up after a very sleepless night. I did I admit it, I took my Benadryl that night so that I could sleep a little bit because I was emotionally exhausted, scared, and when I'm in that state, my mind will loop around and around and around. Hi, Ellie. I see you looking at me back there. Ellie. Ellie Belly. Yeah. And there's Kiersey. Are you going to come up here and say hi? Hi to the people. Um, so got up the next morning, came in, opened my email, and found they had reinstated my account, which I am very lucky in regards that it took so little time, but the damage wasn't fixed because while the pre-orders had been canceled, they were still live on the store now. And people could order them, but they wouldn't get anything because I was locked out of every single one of those books. I couldn't upload the manuscript. I couldn't upload anything. I couldn't make any changes. And I was sitting here going, if those stay up and I can't even take them down myself, people are going to not get books on the day they're supposed to drop. Um, so I emailed Amazon again. And I was actually kind of scared too, because it was like, okay, they've reinstated my account. I don't want them to double think it, And meanwhile, I'm sitting here going, okay, now we're still getting the direct store links on my site. Now we have to put the Amazon links back. And again, it was a mess of work. It was just a whirl of work. And I emailed Amazon a couple more times about the pre-orders throughout the day. And I emailed one of the people recommended to me to reach out to. And by the end of the day, I was calmer because yeah, my account was back. The royalties were still in there, but I felt like I'd been run over by a truck. I mean, seriously, it was a gut punch. And I kept checking my account every couple hours to make sure it was still there. It was like some weird PTSD thing of, is it still going to be there? Is it still going to be there? So I took the rest of the day to plan out what I was going to do because I realized there's no way I could get into those pre-orders to do anything. So the next day, the pre-orders were still a mess. And once again, I emailed someone at Amazon. And then I thought maybe I can find a phone number to get through because it is incredibly difficult sometimes to find a place to call them. But I did. I sifted through the help areas to the point of where I'd read almost every single thing I could find looking for the offer of a phone call. And I found it and I asked them to call me back because that's the way it works there. And within 5 minutes, they did, which was extremely comforting, actually, to have it take so short of a time. And I explained to the woman what was going on step by step. I was very nice, very polite, and I framed it in the vein of my readers, your customers are not going to get these books, but they'll be charged if they go out. And so she took care of things. She said, there's no way we can reinstate the pre-orders. I mean, those are gone, but I'll get them out of the store, so that people aren't going to keep buying them and you'll see them leave your dashboard and people will be notified, which, while not the ideal solution, was a solution that at least cleared the slate and I could start over, and they reinstated my pre-order privileges. So I was able to make new pre-orders as soon as the ones cleared from my account. Meanwhile, I was sitting here thinking, Enchanted Web, which I was writing, I I have a habit of when I have something traumatic happen, it often gets mixed up with what I'm writing in terms of energy because I am so much of an energy worker. I'm a witch. I work with energy. I work magic into my books. And that trauma kind of attached itself. So I decided, since there's no pre-order on that, and the pre-orders over on Drafted Digital for Nook, Kobo, and Apple, they don't care if you cancel a pre-order. And there were so few that it was like, okay, I'm gonna cancel pre-orders that I'm not sure about at this point. So I canceled Chaos Rising and I canceled Enchanted Web. Now, Enchanted Web, I will finish at some point. I don't know whether it'll be the end of this year or sometime next year, but it will come out. I just need some distance from it for a while. But I realized what I really want to write right now. I want to go back to Otherworld. I want to go back to the Wild Hunt. I want to put in action the plans I made. And so I decided I would start with, the first Otherworld prequel novella that I planned on writing. And then I'll write a Wild Hunt novella and I'll just alternate until 5 novellas are out. Otherworld, Wild Hunt, Otherworld, Wild Hunt, Otherworld. And then I probably will write a Shadow Blade book. I'm not sure of the order, but there will be at least one, if not two, Shadow Blade books out this year, a little later on in the year. but I will start the new Otherworld Unleashed series. And I'm excited. It feels like my girls came home to me when I finally made the decision to write, excuse me, to write a new Otherworld series. It felt like so much came back into my life that I had tried to stuff away in order to get those rights. But when I had to put the books up because of the pirates, it was a silver lining. I have to admit, it was, while I am furious at pirates, I can't stand book thieves. The best thing that came out of it was me being able to go, you know, even though they still have 5 books, I'm taking Otherworld back for myself energetically. And right after that, I got Witchling back. And well, they had 6 books at the time. And I will be getting Witchling back. I'm getting the rights back to it. And so I'll have the first 12 books and then book 18, and then my 3 indie books to end it. And they only have 5 books left. But having Witchling back means so much to me. That book started that entire world. And I have been looking through the books and looking through the storylines and looking through the world that I created. And it's been a tearful experience. That world meant so much to me. And it was so hard to not talk about it while I was trying to get the rights back, because that was the only way I was going to get, the rights to that series back at that point. And while I don't have the entire series, having the first 12 books without interruption, that's big. That is big for me. And having Witchling back is the biggest part, because she started it all. That was the book that pushed my sales into the limelight. That was the book that made my success and name, you know. And that was the book where I started writing the genre of my heart, urban fantasy. That was a book where I was able to just throw myself into and fully enjoy. There's nothing about that book that I did not love writing, except one little thing. And that was I had to mention shoes, because they were really into still a bit of chick lit and the whole, shoes are big. And it was like, okay, I'll mention fancy shoes. But, other than that, everything in that book was a delight to write. So writing Otherworld Unleashed, I think, is going to be even more so, because now I can do what I want. I can have the storylines I want. I don't have to mute some of my nature, to fit in with what New York wanted. And so I will be beginning Otherworld Unleashed this year. And I am just really looking forward to getting back into the worlds that I absolutely love, because that will help keep the stress away too. Writing in those worlds will be like coming home to a comfortable place. And I'm hoping that's the way my readers feel too, is by me reopening up Otherworld and the Wild Hunt. I hope it gives you a place that feels familiar and comfortable to go to when you're stressed. And Otherworld Unleashed will start about a year after the big fight with Shadowwing. So, letting you know there. Wild Hunt, you will see the old crew, but you will see someone new with the old crew as well. Because let's face it, Ember is now a mommy, and Ember is a goddess. And so she's not going to be out there in the front line, but she will be there. So I will talk to you guys later. I have Witching Season and Where It Began up for pre-order. Witching Season is a Raven story out of the Wild Hunt. Where It Began is a prequel shortly after the girls landed Earthside from Otherworld. And I will be writing Bonfire Dreams for Delilah and Blood and Bones for Menely. So I will talk to you soon. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and I'll put a couple links in the description box just in case you're an author who's had your account closed down. So talk to you later. Take care. Go pre-order the books. You can pre-order them from my direct site as well. And remember, while Amazon leases you the books, if you buy them from me, you own those files. Now, you can't go sell them, and you can't distribute them online, but I will never take them away from you. They'll stay on your e-reader as long as you've got your e-reader. Take care. Bye-bye.